Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Mabon! It is finally here. Over the past few weeks, we've done a lot of preparatory videos about the mythology, the god Mabon, the goddess Modron, their magical correspondences, different ways we can celebrate, lots and lots of stuff. But now, at last, it is here. I think it's a good time to just kind of take stock. Take a moment to just reflect upon what this particular Mabon of 2021 is really meaning for us, and I'd like to share a few of my thoughts with you. First is really the gratitude for the abundance and blessings that I do have in my life. Over the past couple of months, I've been able to renew several old friendships, and I've had an opportunity to really strengthen those connections and those bonds. And that's been an incredibly helpful and stabilizing force in my life, and I am truly thankful for it. Also, in the course of my work with this channel and with creating the Blackbird's Brew, I've been able to meet some new friends, and I like having the chance to expand my small circle of like-minded people and being able to have a good intellectual exchange about a lot of different ideas, and just being able to have people to talk to who are on more or less the same wavelength. I'm also quite grateful for having the time and the available resources that are necessary to be able to devote myself to creating content for this channel, as well as for Blackbird's Brew on Discord, and just to play a part in forging a pagan community and being able to have people who are like-minded, who are practicing, who are doing the work, making the efforts, and really living the life, people who are actions and not just words. It's incredible, and I am so glad to have this. I think I would be feeling very, very lost and very, very depressed without it. So the next thing to go over, since Mabon is all about the harvest, is reaping what I have sown over this past year. One of the things I've been doing is really giving myself over to more in-depth studies of the craft, of mythology. I now worship on a daily basis rather than on a weekly or just on sabbats or just on esbats. And some of the effects that this has had is that my understanding is growing, much more so than it had in previous years, because before I didn't devote the time, or I did not have the time to devote. I think my magic is much stronger. I feel much more confident in my spell work and in rituals. Meditation is actually easier, and the deities that I'm meant to be working with at this time, I have an easier time sensing their presence. They are more present, and I think I'm more aware of their guidance, and I'm a lot more open to cooperating with them and going with their flow, rather than, trying to argue against it if I don't feel like going in a particular direction or fighting against necessary change. I feel much more in tune. Second thing is that I have evaded dealing with certain painful experiences in my past. Some of these things for decades. And now the time has come to face it. So no more running, no more indulging in fears of getting trapped into wallowing. This is going to be a genuine effort to come to terms with things so I can heal properly and not be bogged down by old baggage and just get on with the next phase of my life. And I think the last part I'm going to mention here is about, well, it's really about coming to terms with the seeds that other people have sown that are now coming to fruition, and we're all having to reap the harvest of that. We're entering a very challenging period of time, I think, and it's not going to be possible to ignore what comes next. Everything has consequences, and sadly, many people, myself included, who warned about those consequences of really bad ideas, we will nonetheless have to endure them and the results, the same as the fools who preached the nonsense to begin with, and the fools who followed them without thought and would not heed any warnings, not for love or money. That part, we're not going to be able to avoid that. But as things begin the process of hitting rock bottom, because we're not there yet, we'll get there, I think, but we're not there yet. But once we are, we now all have a chance to plant the seeds for the next coming cycle. We have the opportunity to keep hope alive and to be able to express ideas and thoughts that are actually worthwhile, that say, people taught this, and this was the result. I am saying this, and these will be the results, because these were the results when those ideas were put into practice before. And wouldn't it be better to restore that world? I think there's going to be also a really profound need for spiritual leadership and spiritual comfort in the coming years. And I've really been contemplating about what this will mean for me as a Wiccan priestess. So I'm trying to build myself up so that on the occasions when it comes to really fulfill that role, that I'll be able to do my job. But even more importantly, that other people will be able to have something worthwhile to take from that. Third thing about this Mabon is that I find myself understanding the grief of the goddess. In past years, the goddess and her role as a grieving widow, it wasn't an energy that I felt particularly strongly, but this year has definitely been different. And I think it's because I've been watching the country I grew up in, the country that I learned to love later in life after my JW years. I'm just looking at it fall apart at the seams. And this has involved a mourning process, just as I would if someone who I cared about and who was close to died. And even though the goddess knows that the god is going to return, and in relatively short order, she still feels his loss. She still grieves for him. And I, too, I'm certainly grieving for what we have lost and what we're likely to lose before it's all said and done. But alongside that, I do still have a very deep-rooted belief that the good things from our civilization can be reborn. Maybe not in my lifetime, but eventually what goes around comes around. And I think we can have the good things of this country come around once again if we just put forth the effort and plant the seeds to do so. So it's not as though hope has just flown out of the window and we are all given into despair. But, when you're in the moment and you're feeling this grief, with the sadness and the anger and the need to somehow negotiate a way out of it when, the dominoes are already falling and what's going to happen is going to happen. And having to fight against that urge to pretend that it cannot possibly be happening because you don't want it to. And then dealing with just the depths of depression. It's all there. And sometimes these feelings are happening to an overwhelming degree and sometimes almost all at once. But after all that, there does come the phase of acceptance. And I think I am on the cusp of acceptance. I find myself concentrating more so on what happens next, how to make the next part better, how to better position myself to aid in the efforts to restore what we've lost down the road, even if we ourselves aren't the beneficiaries of it. It can be done, and I'm just about there to being able to give myself over to that work as well. But because of all of this, I find myself connecting with the goddess on a level that I've never connected with her before. And despite, that these aren't the funnest feelings in the world to be feeling, it still isn't ruining the joy that I take in the harvest season. If anything, I feel closer to it. I think the multiple layers and everything that's going on with the overlapping of themes, I think I am getting more in tune with that. And that's all for the good. Next, of course, we are farewelling the god, and it's been very hard to let him go this year. I really love everything about his energy, and I hate seeing it fade. I know he's not so very far away because he's just on the other side of the veil, and of course, as witches, we have one foot on both sides of that veil at all times. But as his presence here wanes, I do find myself missing his influence, missing that energy, and just honestly missing more healthy masculinity in general. So what I'm going to do is give him a really proper send-off with my Mabon feast and my Mabon ritual. I want to let him know that I accept this as a necessary part of the process, but after he goes, he will be missed, he is still valued, and I will be very happy to welcome him back when his attention once again returns to this side of the veil. So, that just leaves moving forward and what comes next. For starters, it's soon going to be time to kick into high gear for Samhain and all of its delicious energy. And as the end of the spiritual year draws close, I find myself wanting to go out with a bang. I want to feel energized for the next cycle when it comes. Hopefully, this time next year, the Wicca 202 classes will be underway, and I hope they'll be going well. I'm really excited to continue working toward this goal, creating the video classes and trying to figure out how to best explain concepts to other people that's in a logical and cohesive way. It's been amazingly rewarding. It's been challenging, but I really feel good about this. There's nothing else I would rather be doing. And then this leaves the unknown. I am wandering into some uncharted territory. And right now it's really unclear what direction some of my work is going to take me. But I have rediscovered the joy of mystery, and I'm feeling comfortable with not knowing where the adventure will lead. I'm content to allow some things to unfold rather, and just go along with that process. Definitely a different experience for me because I do like to plan things out as far in advance as what I possibly can. But feel a little bit looser, feeling a little bit more content, feeling just more okay with the flow of some necessary things. I think there's a time to fight the flow of things. I think there's a time to go along with them. And for this particular project, I'm feeling more and more comfortable just going with it. I think it will ultimately be very beneficial. So that's really just where I am at, just mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually with Mabon this year. I would love to hear your comments at the brew to hear about, what does Mabon 2021 really mean to you? Where are you at? Are you feeling the themes differently? Are you interacting with the energies differently? Have you made new discoveries? Have you reached new depths? Are there more textures and layers that you've really sunk your teeth into? I'd love to hear all about it. There's a link to join Blackbird's Brew in the description box below, and I hope you will. So have a fantastic Mabon, and I shall see you in another video.